my cutie patooties, and welcome to my spring favorites. Jimmy is right here, and his spring favorite is sunshine. Let's get right into it. Warmth. It is spring, and it is finally warm again. Honestly, it's not even that warm. I would say it's more temperate. It's actually still quite cold, but the ability to go outside without having to put on 300,000 layers. And when I say warmth, I'm not even talking about beautiful days of mid-60s to 80-degree weather, and it's time for t-shirts and flip-flops, and you're considering frolicking to your local body of water, like a lake or an ocean because the sun's out. I'm talking about appreciating a good 35 to 40 degree drizzly spring day. As a Californian, I never got to truly appreciate temperate weather. I was spoiled. People always say that about Californians. We're so spoiled by the good weather. In California, I don't have to fight for my life. I never had to spend time thinking about the layers that I would have to put on to stay warm. In fact, I would be thinking about the opposite. How few layers should I wear because it'll probably be too hot? That's all I ever had to think about. But in Boston, on the East Coast, you're just fighting for survival in the winter. So I have a whole new appreciation for spring. It has always been my least favorite season for whatever reason. I just don't really care for flowers. I love plants, but blooming flowers, they don't really do that much for me. And I feel like that's a huge hallmark of spring. But listen, I definitely appreciate this season a lot more now. So shout out to warmth and more generally just not having to put on 6,000 layers to go outside anymore. That's a huge favorite of mine. Along the lines of warmth and just going outside, walking has been one of my favorite things to do. I've always been a huge walker and I've always loved walking. I used to be the friend where if it was under an hour to walk, I'm down. If I'm in a new city, you bet your ass we're walking the entire thing. But in the past couple of years, really since the pandemic, I think the isolation that occurred during COVID-19 combined with the unwalkability of the city that we used to live in, also just transitioning to becoming a content creator has left me super sedentary for basically years. And I've been slowly trying to change that. I do find myself so much happier when I walk outside. As much as I hate to take the steps of actually leaving the house, once I'm actually outside, it's super lovely. I do walk chicken all the time anyway, but those walks are never really that peaceful because I'm always watching to make sure that chicken's not eating something crazy off the street like a moldy cake or sniffing a stranger because he does that a lot. He loves to go up to strangers and just sniff them and then act really afraid when they try to pet him. So I have to keep an eye on him. But now I have the wonderful privilege of living in a walkable city, or at the very least just a walkable area. And that's something that I have always dreamed of. And I don't want to take it for granted now that I'm here. These days, whenever I find myself just isolating and not really going outside and walking like I should, I always try to remind myself that this is what teenage Sai dreamed of. I had a pretty restricted childhood, very strict traditional Asian parents who oftentimes wouldn't even let me go outside in our neighborhood because we didn't live in that safe of areas. And I remember being a very young child, all the way out through my teenage years, I just dreamed of living with my partner or a friend or anyone in an apartment with huge windows with a silly little cat. I ended up with a dog. And I specifically would dream of being able to just walk wherever and whenever I wanted. I really dreamed of having the freedom of just being able to walk anywhere. And now I get to do that. And you know, me personally, I'm not really trying to walk in the winter. It's too cold. Walking is definitely a spring favorite. On a completely different note, another huge favorite of mine this spring are toner pads. For those of you who are not obsessed with Asian beauty in the way that I am, a toner pad is essentially exactly what it sounds like. Thin little pad that is completely soaked and drenched in product. And so a lot of toner pads have different uses, different serums and essences that are built into them. Some of them are extremely exfoliating, some of them are extremely anti-aging, and they all have different functionalities, and they are incredibly popular in Korean beauty. Here's one of the toner pads that I've been using. It's the Vitamide Brightening Pad from MetaHeal. Love MetaHeal. And I get pretty overstimulated by face masks, but I really want to get better at using them more frequently because I do notice a huge difference in my skin when I'm able to use them regularly. But for some reason, the extra step, peeling open the face mask and then having to work with it to put on your face, causes me to just never use them. So it's all about baby steps. I've started putting toner pads next to the areas where I will sit down to work, for example, my desk, and it has just made it so that I'm so much more likely to, as I edit or as I do any other of my desk tasks, I'll just reach over, I'll just pop it open with a nice little tongue here, and I'll just slap it on my face. I'm been using them at least once, if not twice a day, and I've noticed a huge difference in my skin. Even Cass noticed a difference. So even on days where I feel like I can't bring myself to do my full skincare routine, my fucking 12-step Korean anti-aging bullshit, it's nice to just give myself a couple of quick swipes with the toner pad, and then I end up feeling so refreshed and so clean. And they've also really helped with my oversensitivity to bold, slimy things on my face. I really struggle with that, which is why I hate face masks so much. But they have been really wonderful in just helping me deal with that overstimulation. And I'm hoping that eventually I'll get to a place where I actually actively enjoy having a cold, slimy, wet thing on my face. Once again, baby steps. So if y'all doom scrolled on TikTok as often as I did last year, then you've definitely heard of oil pulling. It's apparently been around for a while. I'll insert the relevant research here. And I have to say, oil pulling has completely changed the health of my teeth. When I can actually get myself to do it, I go through phases. There are times where I do it every single day for a month straight, and then suddenly I'll just drop off because I get lazy. I'm not perfect. But really, I don't have a single bad thing to say about oil pulling. It's affordable, it's efficient, and it's great for your gum health. All you have to do essentially is put a spoonful of extra virgin, unrefined, organic coconut oil, essentially the most unprocessed version of coconut oil that you can find. Put a spoonful of that into your mouth, and then you just swish it. Rinse your mouth with it for as long as you can. I think you're supposed to do it ideally up to 20 minutes. I usually just do it as I do my skincare. Spit it out, not in your sink because it'll clog all of your drains, and then you brush your teeth and you're done. And I will say, when I am able to consistently oil pull, I have never gotten more compliments on my teeth than when I do that, truly. Getting used to the texture of putting coconut oil in your mouth is definitely a bump in the road that I had to cross personally. When we first started oil pulling together, Cass didn't find it unpleasant at all. I, on the other hand, felt like I was gonna throw up the first 5 to 7 times that I did it. Now I'm completely used to it and I don't struggle with those texture issues as much, but we've probably gone through 3 huge tubs of the Costco-sized coconut oils. We don't have a Costco membership anymore, so unfortunately I don't have access to those huge tubs. Got all of my relatives in Vietnam to start doing it since oral hygiene and dental hygiene is harder to access in Vietnam, and it has all changed the quality of their teeth as well. So just saying, if you're looking for a new way to take care of your teeth, it's amazing. Also, if you're a big flosser, oil pulling is fantastic because it just softens up all of the debris and leftover food that may be left in your mouth, and it just makes flossing an incredibly heavenly experience. Try it. Oil pulling, definitely a spring favorite. So, as some of you may know, I am on my exfoliation and moisturization journey, especially after moving to the East Coast, where I feel like my body has become a shriveled little raisin, and I am a shell of the moisturized mistress I used to be. Body oil has been a huge game changer in the way I do things. I think I watched a random TikTok one day where someone was like, you need to be using body oil if you struggle with chicken skin, which I do. I'm currently just using the Johnson & Johnson baby oil. Super cheap, super accessible, you can buy it anywhere. I feel like typically whenever I apply a lotion on my body, it just sucks it up and I'm like, oh, well, that moisturizer is gone. I don't know if anyone else struggles with that. Or sometimes the moisturizer will just sit on the top layer of my skin and it just won't absorb. My skin will be dry, yet there will be a layer of film moisturizer on top. Do you know what I'm talking about? In any case, using oil has been so helpful in solving both of these issues because it just locks in all of that moisture, and I end up just feeling so moisturized all day, which is a very new feeling to me. Genuinely, the only thing that I wish is that I would have discovered baby oil sooner so that I could have incorporated it into my daily routine at an earlier point in life. I can't even imagine how soft my skin would be if that were the case. I'd probably be too powerful, so maybe it's a good thing I didn't discover baby oil prior to that. I've got Cass hooked on it as well. Now we're both just rubbing oil all over each other in a non-sexual way, just in a moisturizing our bodies kind of way. I really want to start experimenting with scented body oils and things of that nature. So if y'all have any recommendations of body oils that you like, please let me know. It just feels like it would be such a luxurious experience to have a scented body oil. On a totally different note, a huge spring favorite of mine has been doing shared activities with friends, specifically domestic activities. I know some people really don't like this. Some of the conversation or rhetoric around it is that it doesn't count as quality time if it's something that you already already had to do anyway, which I don't know. I feel like I totally disagree with. I personally love doing things like going to the gym or grocery shopping or cooking together. I don't know, going to IKEA together. I don't know. Those kinds of little domestic chores have always been one of my favorite bonding activities. I think you can just learn so many new things about someone, even people that you have known for years and years, just by engaging in those domestic tasks together. I love grocery shopping more than anything. It's one of my favorite things. I love wandering down the aisles of a grocery store, talking with a friend, discussing whether or not you're gonna buy it. What are their staples? What kind of butter does someone buy? Do they get Kerrygold? Are they super bougie, or do they just get the classic Trader Joe's brand? Do they go to Trader Joe's? What grocery store do you guys go to together? I don't know. I love little moments like that. And I have noticed that people who tend to not like doing domestic shared activities, I definitely struggle to bond with. I feel like maybe this is an unfair generalization, but I do feel that if you are able to engage in a shared domestic activity with friends, then you also have the ability to see the whimsy and magic of just little moments like that. I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting things that aren't true. For example, Camden, who I love so dearly, I only just met Cami recently when we moved to Boston. One of the very first things that we did was go to Trader Joe's together. I don't know if Camden was experiencing the same thing, but I remember walking down the aisles just feeling so connected to him. We went down every single aisle together and we perused every single little good that Trader Joe's had, and I was able to learn so much about Camden, like his German roots, because we were looking at German alcohol together. And I love learning what frozen goods that he eats and what food allergies he has. And now that it's spring and the birds are chirping and the weather is lovely, I'm really excited to do more domestic activities with my friends. And along the same lines of that, a huge spring favorite of mine has been cooking for my loved ones. If y'all have been here for a really long time, obviously I love food, I love cooking, and I especially love cooking huge meals and huge feasts for all of my friends. I love going to restaurants too, don't get me wrong, but there is just something so wonderful to me about doing a hot pot style meal, or doing Korean barbecue at home, or making a huge vat of soup, or a huge wok of fried rice that everyone can just dig into, and then just seeing all of that food disappear as your friends eat. Every time I'm cooking for a group of my friends, I'm filled with jubilee. Cass is always like, you're glowing. I really do love to feed people so much. Cass regularly jokes that I'm a feeder, and while I definitely don't derive sexual pleasure from feeding my friends, I definitely do experience overwhelming feelings of love and joy and care. I think I just get flashbacks to my 13-year-old self who was so lonely and had no friends and just really, really, really wanted friends to be able to love and care for. And now at 27, I have that, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Since we're already on the topic of food, I want to talk about my favorite spring shows, or just shows that I've been watching this spring. Top Chef is back, and that's a perpetual favorite for me. This season is based in Canada, which admittedly I didn't know much about the food culture in Canada. So it's been super interesting to learn all of the tidbits and facts. Also, the show is now being hosted by a very attractive lesbian Korean American adoptee, just mentioning it. And another one of my favorites that is also now in my anime Hall of Fame, which shout out to you, Cam. I know you're watching this. Thank you for introducing me to Campfire Cooking. The full title of the show is Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill, which is a ridiculously long title, but it follows this main character who is reincarnated into another world where he gains this skill called online grocery. And essentially he just basically has instantaneous Amazon at his disposal. He can just order whatever he wants and it just appears in a box in front of him. Anything that you can get at a konbini, he can order. And using this extremely absurdist power, he cooks tons of delicious dishes like karaage and croquettes. Every single episode there's at least one dish, and the show shows you the entire process of cooking and the ingredients that are involved. And using these delicious foods that he's cooking up, he manages to capture the hearts and the stomachs of everyone around him as he continues to explore this new world that he's in. It's a super feel-good, very low conflict, escapist show, and I absolutely love it. Another season is coming out this year, and I'm very excited. If you have any anime recs, please let me know. I'm on the hunt for a new one right now. Leave it in the comments. Another huge spring favorite of mine. I just feel obligated to shout it out because I've been using it more frequently than ever these days. Notion. I feel like I don't talk about Notion ever, which is insane to me. I use it every single day. Basically every single second of the day. I'm literally using it right now. Behind this camera is my Notion. If you don't know what Notion is, it is an organizer tool. Completely free. It's a website, so you can go to notion.com, or you can also download it as a desktop app or an iPhone app. And I would say if you're a student or a creative that is self-employed, or just someone who needs organizational help, Notion is a godsend. There's definitely a bit of a learning curve when you first use it. And I think when you're first starting out, it's best utilized by starting with a template. It's just a little less overwhelming to configure because listen, it is a lot. I tried to use Notion probably 3 to 4 times and failed at using it before I actually gave it a good college try and ended up using a template to get me started. But I love that it's completely customizable and you can do whatever you want with it. I swear I would be so lost without my Notion. I plan all my content on it. I write all of my scripts. I have entire recipe logs cataloged on it. I plan all of my short form content on it. I have a habit tracker. I have so many different things that I am completely reliant on Notion for. And I really think it's just a wonderful free organizational app. Cass is actually the one who put me on it. They love it more than anything in the world. Cass stays on their Notion. They take all of their notes on their Notion. So if you happen to be looking for an organizational tool, check out Notion. Since I'm already nerding out and talking about Notion, I'll also let you know that I have been listening to Pokemon playlists on YouTube every single day for hours at a time. Especially when I'm writing scripts or videos, doing anything that requires a fair amount of concentration, but I don't want to do that activity in silence. I just throw on that lo-fi Pokemon playlist. I'll definitely link some of my favorites in the description, but these playlists have genuinely brought me so much joy. Thank you to the people making these playlists. I don't know if you're making any profit off it because it is copyrighted music, I think, but you're doing God's work out there. Truly, thank you. I don't know who's compiling these lists. Thank you. I have a lot of friends that listen to their favorite movie or video game soundtracks, but I've never personally delved into that much myself. Now though, I totally understand why people listen to different scores. I feel like it's the perfect mixture of nostalgia and good vibes. And it's just the perfect background noise as you do other things. If you happen to have a favorite piece of media, try throwing on the soundtrack as you, I don't know, do your dishes or make your bed or something. It may help make that activity a lot more enjoyable. Finally, last but not least, the Legends of Arceus. Since I'm already talking about Pokemon, I figured I'd throw this favorite in as well. Sorry, I have really nerded out this entire favorites video. I hope that's okay with you guys. I can't talk about Pokemon and my spring favorites without mentioning The Legends of Arceus. I have owned this game for over 3 to 4 years now. Whenever it came out is when I bought it. And I never really let myself play it that often unless I was on a plane ride or doing a layover or doing something, I don't know, that had a lot of downtime. Because I do have such addictive habits with video games. I never let myself play them that often. But because I was horrifically sick for 2-ish weeks, I had some free time. And man, you can bet this game was pulled out. It is an open world Pokemon game. So basically imagine a much shittier Breath of the Wild, except with Pokemon. And you're a trainer and you're just out there trying to catch them all. I've already logged 50 hours and I have barely scratched the surface of the game. Just love it so much. And I think it's the best Pokemon game to ever exist. And those are all of my current favorites. And of course, I know why you're all here. Who cares about my favorites when Cass has much better favorites to talk about? So here are Cass's favorites.
Hi, baby.
Well, thank you for sharing your favorites with us.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, go ahead, champ. What have your favorites been this spring?
Number one favorite, consistent every day, is matcha strawberry latte, but specifically with strawberry protein milk. I've been going with Fairlife. I like the one with 40 grams of protein. I like breakfast foods, but I don't always like the imposition of eating breakfast. So this just starts my day so that I have a little more time before I need to eat because I'm getting a ton of protein.
The past 2 months, I would say, every single morning, Cass has started their day with a protein-packed strawberry latte.
But it also just tastes so good. I go to bed excited to wake up.
That's how I feel about my coffee.
Next, I guess, faves would be, I'm very deep in grad school right now. So all I do is read all day. So I will share with you a favorite text of mine that I've been reading, which is The Origins of Totalitarianism by Hannah Arendt. And given everything that's going on in the United States right now and in some other countries, I just felt like I wanted to read up a little bit on like political science and philosophy. So it's a really good book. Hannah Arendt, she's that girl, I would say. She is that girl.
Cass's mentor and favorite professor at UC Berkeley told Cass she reads from this text every single day.
I just happened to text her because we have a little key now and then. Hey Diva, this is what I'm reading, you know, hope you're taking care during the rise of fascism. And she responded and was like, I read that book like it's the Bible every single day. I reference that text, I read from it. So also working through it and I understand why she loves it so much. And then last but not least, I would have to say, I'm trying to be more intentional about quality time this spring. I took for granted the difference between between just time and quality time. So I'm trying to spend more time with my friends, with Sai, being present.
What's your favorite quality time activity that you've done this spring?
You know what? I went with my friend to see my first ever basketball game. My friend is a huge women's basketball fan. And so we went to see a Harvard-Princeton collegiate basketball game. And it was so fun. It was my first ever live basketball attendance. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm not really a sporto. I know very little about sports. And in fact, I actively resist and avoid them. This friend loves basketball, and I knew that it would really just like everything to her if I went and supported her. And being there for her was so much fun. But also, I got to discover something fun as well, which was a basketball game. I never would have gone. But by prioritizing time with my friend and what they like to do and how they show love, I feel like I was able to show up and also just have a really good time. That was fierce. Loving people in the language they need to be loved, I think, is also, you know, I'm an only child. I'm not always the best at that, so I'm working on that. Love is in this spring. Friendship is in this spring. Reading, literacy is in this spring. And protein matchas are in this spring.
Any bonus favorites?
I just watched the season finale of Beverly Hills. Crazy.
If any of you are Housewives watchers out there, any franchise, any location, please leave it in the comments because Cass will read it and will be so elated to have someone to talk to about Housewives.
Yeah, I'm all alone in my little bubble. Nobody that I know watches it, which is for the best. I would say it's actually like, it's a hyperfixation of mine. Like I'm obsessed with it in a way that's not chill or normal or even fun for others. Do you know what I mean?
It's running like 24/7.
I'm folding laundry. I'm watching Housewives. I'm making dinner. I'm watching Housewives. I'm in the shower. I'm watching Housewives.
It's true.
And no other show cuts it anymore. I don't need your Severance. I don't need White Lotus. I have peak entertainment. You know what else is a fave for me? Gabby and Wendy and Rob's relationship. I just want to say in lesbian news, that was a huge marriage.
Huge.
We love Gaggy.
We love Gaggy.
We love Gaggy.
We love you, Gaggy.
I'm obsessed with them. I feel like Sai reminds me a lot of Gabby. I love just like a really, really smart bimbo. Like one of my favorite comedy, if not my favorite. Like I love a girl that's like, what? And like is 10 billion times smarter than you. You know what I mean? And that's the vibe that Gaggy gives me. That's what I'm featuring this spring. Also, a regular sleep routine. I just want to say, I fear everyone was right. I was wrong. You do need a regular sleep routine. And I used to think like, oh, I'm getting my 8 hours, who cares? No, I want to be tucked in bed by no later than like 10:30.
Yeah, who knew that humans need regular routine and their base hierarchy of needs to be met in order to thrive? You didn't know.
Have yourself a little matcha, go to bed on time, spend time with your loved ones, read up on the political moment because
it's upon us.
And watch a little Housewives, you know what I mean?
Well, thank you so much for sharing your spring favorites, honey.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I just came in. I forgot a favorite.
I need you guys to know the video. I'm about to edit the video. It's all done. Cass came in especially to talk about this favorite, which I don't even know what it is.
I was doing my homework and I went to turn on my Spotify and I was like, oh, this album. So for the study heads, for those who like classical music, for those who like to feel calm and serene, this cello album by Pablo Casals, the very famous jazz musician, from what I understand, from what I've been told. And he does I'll
play a little snippet of his work.
Yeah, but specifically, he does Bach's cello suites in his own interpretation and composition. And it's so beautiful. And I love the cello so much. I actually played as a child. Insert photo. I love it. So that's what I've been listening to. And it's so good. And it's so relaxing, but also brain massaging. Get into it, divas. Get into jazz classical composition.
That's it for this favorites video. And I'll see you guys next season, where I'm sure I'll make a summer favorites video.
You're my year-round favorite.
That's gay. Anyway, bye guys.